having come to a threshold, cross through it, only to be perversely wrenched from themselves. Combat is a one-way door. Finding an exit requires healing. Intrusion. "We better go," she said, nudging me awake. On the edge of our bed, my wife sat in her top coat, slippers, clutching her little overnight bag. "You're all ready? It's coming? Why didn't you wake me sooner? I wanted to let you sleep. I didn't want to wake you. I wanted to let you sleep as long as possible. You were dead to the world." When we got to St. Peter's, the parking lot behind the hospital was clear right up to the entrance, but the door was locked. Just then a black man in a lab coat and stethoscope partway out of his pocket and reading glasses hanging from his neck stepped outside for a smoke. He held the door open. "Come on, you," I said as we passed by. "Come Kachi," he said with a smile. "My mon chow hai nui." Wait, did I just have some kind of in-the-flesh flashback with a bilingual African-American Special Forces medical dude? Still jazzed from driving 25 miles about 90, I realized I just said thanks very much in Vietnamese and got back, "You're welcome, good luck you two." After coaching her for 11 hours, our doc said to the crew, "Louise, the baby's heart rate is dropping. Get Dad into a cap gown and slippers. We're doing an emergency C-section." While everyone was scurrying around like disrupted wagon train of ants, I got launched back in time. The monster rising from the low pallet bed, the guttural growl roaring from the maw on the skull the size of a watermelon. Saw it explode as I fired one round, heard a gushing sound, and felt a wet door while ducking back through the opening of the darkened hooch in one motion. The rest of the team was spread out on the ground. I walked toward them as they got to their feet. All the hooches, the entire hamlet seemed deserted. No chickens, no pigs, no sign of life. Doc, his head exploded. It was huge and just blew apart and gushed like a waterfall. If he'd been armed, I'd be point blank killed in action. "Is this black plague I'm wearing?" No, probably gross cranioencephalitis. We moved out. 5 minutes further north, we come across an old gnarled man whose grotesquely twisted legs bent beneath his trunk as he plowed through loose sand on his hands, skin and bone and fear. He'd heard the shot. I knelt, handed the cripple a canteen, then a filtered Salem. I asked, "Where is everybody? Where are you going? What are you doing here?" He said, "Everybody, only a few families left 3 days ago. They wouldn't let trans family take him along. They had to leave him to die. Same for himself. Nui mi he nui viet noi yadin di hom." "Was it Americans or Vietnamese who made your families leave?" I asked. "North Vietnamese Army and Viet Cong cadre," he answered. He'd never seen Americans. I glanced at our surgeon during another vigorous scrub at a bank of sinks. I'd had to scrub for 3 minutes too. I reminded myself how most babies born in the USA are fine, whole little things. I thought about luck, how much I'd used, how much I'd borrowed, how much I spent trying to make it back to this world, to this part of living the dream. My mind drifts again. Back to the wilted scrub brush and bare bench trees just south of the DMZ. Sweating coolies on line, 1st Platoon, Echo Company, 2nd Battalion crested the denuded slope just as cargo planes come lumbering along the ridge with racks of nozzles under each wing spewing wide arcs, not of dusty powder or foam, but sticky liquid. They fly so low we duck. I roll my sleeves down. As the 2nd and 3rd plane drone above, we curl up on the ground. After the planes are gone, the word goes up and down the ranks. Agent Orange is harmless. It only affects vegetable matter. As my wife breathes quietly with a spinal block and the surgeon and nurses murmur back and forth, I think about the appointment I'd had at the VA clinic in the Smith's Tower after she told me she was pregnant. It was 1986, and I'd seen magazine pictures of alleged victims of exposure to the chemical and read about longshoremen and railroad workers in the States receiving medical disability payments and treatment for strange cancers or blood diseases after handling barrels of Agent Orange for shipment. I thought about my Navy SEAL friend's brother-in-law, also a SEAL, whose son was born with his stomach on the outside of his body, of another vet's brain-damaged baby born with only his skull partially formed. Those dads had also been doused on ops in 1968, 1969. I counted the people in the operating room and thought about what the doc at the Smith Tower had said. The VA doesn't have a test for effects of exposure to Agent Orange. I remember doctors and scientists and veterans clamoring for testing while Dow spokesman insisted the chemical was harmless. Though I stood at the operating table ready for joy or despair, I couldn't rid my mind of images of AK rounds and landmines, red-hot, jagged, forearm-sized shards of spinning shrapnel turning young men into ghosts. Most never had a chance to have a kid. I rehashed the code between buddies about how much mutilation a wounded boy could accept. 1 foot gone? Okay. Above the knee? No way. One hand? Maybe. Above the elbow? No, no, no. Definitely nicks on the equipment gone. On any prospect of life in a wheelchair, just do me. The machines were monitoring, the nurses were quiet. I strained to will the best, but I knew I could fold a baby I may have fouled into my arms and neck and chest and wrap myself around this malformed body and limbs, hold its vacant skull or misplaced organs covered in wet gauze, that I could not discount what can wrench a couple's life apart or doom a baby to misery. I knew I could pinch its nostrils gently and seal its lips with mine. If you've been in the ship for 13 months and 2 weeks, is the adrenaline fix. Leonard. I draw Leonard. I pay the entry fee from a wad of cash. Fridays the eagle shits and I'm bucks up. I love construction jobs, mill jobs, dishwashing jobs, any job that pays every week. I drop my rodeo duffel behind the chutes and ask one of the other bareback contestants for the lowdown on Leonard. He's a dirty-ass shoot fighter and a runner. One of the stock contractor's hands overhears and says, if you mark him out and hang in for a short sprint, you can cover him. Cover him, as in make a qualified ride. Score. Mark him out, as in avoid being disqualified immediately. To begin a qualified bareback wrong, the contestant must have his spurs in contact with the horse's neck above the point of the withers with the toes of the rider's boots rolled outboard. The contestant must hold that position until the horse's front hooves make contact with the ground on its initial leap out of the chute. It's easier to mark a horse that skies up out of the gate, easier to get a higher score on one that jumps and kicks and sunfishes and turns in a one-way tight circle. Lay back and give that sucker a steel bath. Any action after the buzzer is just a crowd pleaser. Getting in a wreck, getting launched, planted, run over by the pickup men, or hung up. That's the rag doll drug around the arena spectacle. I checked the lineup card. I'm second. I'm in the second go-around. Good. I'll be able to ask someone from the first bunch to pull for me, help me set up in the chute, pull a rigging cinch up tight and tie it off. That's what I like about rodeo. Guys you are competing with for the money and the spoils will willingly lend a hand. Leonard loads last, so I'll go out first. I like that, taking point. I climb over the chute and Leonard shudders. I put a knee on his back to let him know I'm coming on board, then get off, stand over him on the rails, place and hold the rigging on his back to get it cinched. Leonard starts shifting sideways, then to and fro. He drops his head to the ground. While the announcer tries to fill the gap in action, it gets quiet around the chutes. I stay on the rails above Leonard, wrenching my fingers through the grip, then sit on the rigging as light as I can, boot toes on the rails, spurs off his flanks. My help is all in, hardcore. They want a cowboy win, not the stock. You got to be set when the gatekeeper jerks it open, boom. That's when the adrenaline slaps you upside the head, rat-a-tats inside your chest, a bareback's bronch hind quarter in the small of your back plate, wicked patty cake. Power, speed, and whiplash. Mix it up on a slam-dancing, 1,000-pound berserker gone psycho. Not yet, cowboy. Breathe. Get that gloved hand in deep. Thumb rolled up so the wrist bone, the one you use to break a windpipe, lines up straight with the thumb, then wrist, rigging handle and arm, all in a straight line. The beast power is all in the crook of the elbow. Get set and mark him out. Lift that rigging to your face and drive your boots down to the withers. Drag the spurs up its neck. Get some drag. Sex and staying on rough stock. It's all about friction. The stock hand says, hurry it up. Leonard's got 2 ropes around his neck and a towel shading his outboard eye. My crew lift his head, shove him off my knees, slap him, shake some mane. Leonard squats, sits. I'm looking out the 3rd rail from the ground. Rodeo hands on both sides of the chute, slip a short rope under his jaws, try to lift his head, try to get him to stand up. He pops up, then bows his head to the ground, pitches me forward, backs up, leans on my leg. I squirm, twist my torso and brace the chute, push against him and fight my legs free. I stand over him on the rails again, then put one knee on his back. He stands up and I ease back down over him. Somebody clears the ropes. The announcer's braying, let's go, let's show, let's rodeo. I scooch up tight to my hand, get on my tailbone, tuck chin to chest to damp the whiplash. He rears, ducks down, kicks the back of the chute with both feet. Brat! It sounds like incoming slamming apart C-130. Leonard wants to fight. Behind the arena, we all feel the raw, wild heat. The hit action's right here. I breathe cool. I spent 13 months in a big gang in a big fight. I'll fight this fucker all night. So that's like being home. And one thing I learned about in the fight is luck. I know luck. The trail widens where a couple of bunkers are set in the middle of nowhere. There are no villas around. The bunkers are for fighting, for protecting artillery, or for storing ammunition. The day is bright, a bright day and quiet in the jungle, good for stalking. The Shungang River flows on one side of the narrow strip of land, and the South China Sea rolls up on the other. One of the bunkers looks sturdy and sinister. It's a smooth shade mountain sand, an upside-down bowl on the edge of a 40-foot clearing along a jungle trail north of our compound. I decide to blow it. The others, 4 guys, get in the tree line behind the bunker to cover the clearing in front of the entrance. I take off my shirt, load my side pockets with blocks of C4, a couple grenades, some tiny fuse and blasting caps, and squeeze through the opening. A short slither, I drop down a level, come to a turn, go a little further, drop down another level. The walls are lined with the large masonry-like blocks that were used back in the 14th century by the indigenous Chong tribe for crematoriums. At the end of the 6-foot-long bottom level, I pack C4 grenades into the corner where the walls meet the timbered ceiling. I have a blasting cap on about a 40-second length of timing fuse jammed into the linked-up charge. I light the fuse. Try to turn around, but it's too tight. I have to back out. Crawling backward and going up a level means doing handstand push-ups. Back up, push up, turn, back up, push up, turn, race to daylight. Scraping up and out, I wheel and bolt straight across to the clearing to get distance fast. Shooting the gap, I glimpse a green figure in a black barrel rising up and hit the ground to the roar of an AK-47. I'm spit on a hot griddle, getting sandblasted. Here things go blank. My buddy Bruce Ward tells me I was wandering on my feet, bumping into trees, my eyes bugged out, going, "He missed me, he missed me." I don't remember the team picking up 30 shell casings like 30 feet from where I've been flopping like a fish out of water, or the hump back to our paws. You should make a belt out of this brass lap bar later. You must have freaked them running straight at him. On the way, this is from On the Way to K-Song. Black tattoo. Hope dins in corduroy smoke. Dreams are trod into jungle loam. The green war twists my brain. Taboos sink into the muck of sanctioned violence. When a few enemies move into a village, the whole area is labeled a free fire zone. Grandfather, grandmother, mother, and children are hit. I shut down, feel no ache. My heart's tattoo is solid black. Back home, I met Honest John in a trailer court. Jungle memories haunted his spirit. His emotional radar swept a blank screen. One day I found him on my way to work. He blasted his heart, then holstered the Smith & Wesson. I ached for his wife, his loose tether. I showed up at work, ran seams of molten metal under hooded blackness. My eyes locked on the rod's tip of fire, the only way I could pierce the darkness. Okay, so, mythology and war, it's all about the goddess of war, and that's where I got the title Namagogo, following for the Vietnamese goddess of war, because back then, 67, it was all about go-go dancing, and the TV show with the go-go dancing, and the music, and Carol Doda, who went from 32 to 38 double D and came down out of the ceiling in the Whiskey a Go-Go on a trapeze. And the announcer would say, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's them." So when I finally got out of boot camp and got to, open my mouth, I was going to ask, well, what am I going to have for my MOS, my military occupation specialty? I said, don't worry about it, Akins. You're going to Namagogo, where the action is. I think that was the title of the TV show yet. The Go-Go, where the action is. So, haunted by the Vietnamese goddess of war. Every woman who shared that hormone frenzy, their names roll easy off my tongue, stick like pitch on skin. But the one who spun me, who led me to the underworld, I never knew her name. Floating like a spider under jungle canopy, she coaxed me into the dark night. Still she calls to me, beckons in the dead of night. I wake up cold and slick with sweat. So, we are going to wrap it up, and then take a break. We patrol every day, set an ambush every night. Miles from friendlies, 6 Marines look for trouble. The North Vietnamese Army owns Quionville. We bust a firefight every time we go up. In broad daylight, we hit and hold ground till they shoot us off the beach. Run like hell, hat out, Didi Mao. Back at our outpost, the sheiks come later. We walk into the surf and smooth out in the South China Sea. When too many stars are out, guerrillas stay in. It's party time. We light up a joint, forget about death. We long for the Stones, Jimmy and Martha. The Stones, Jimmy and Martha and the Vandellas. The contact gets hotter. Kiggs gets wasted. Cronin steps on a mine. A starry night glows and we're all out of smoke. Where's the aqua velva Kig's wife sent him? Soak up a rag, maybe we can huff it. Puncture that butane charger, let's try a sniff. Finally, one day, I make it to a base camp. I'm dreamy-eyed in the PX, checking out reel-to-reel tape decks. A boot lieutenant holds up a can of Brasso. Will I need this? He asks for advice. Brasso polish? No, I don't think you can get high on that.